Hello, my dear Doramita. Welcome to another story of revenge that ends in romance. So, what can I say? As they always say, there's only a thin line between hate and love. Let's see how our lovebirds walk that path together. Careful, there are spoilers ahead. This story begins with two attractive young people who meet at a lively party. She is Chao Yan and he is her adoptive uncle, Gu Jingyuan. We quickly find out that their relationship is not romantic since Chao has come to this house with only one clear goal, to find out if Gu Jing and his family are responsible for the death of her parents, who recently died in a car accident in Germany. Later on, we see that Gu Jing's grandfather, Gu Changfeng, asked the young man to let Chao stay at the house, arguing that the family must stay united and support each other in difficult times. He tells Gu Jing that when he dies, he must take care of his adoptive niece. Even though they are not related by blood, they must remain united. Meanwhile, Chao explores Gu Jing's room looking for clues about her parents' death, and shortly after, he finds her hiding in his closet. He asks her to explain her reasons for coming to this house so suddenly, to which she replies that it was his grandfather who invited her after learning about her parents' death. After this, Chao notices that Gu Jing has a cut on his hand, so she offers to bandage it while they talk more calmly, although he still suspects that she has hidden intentions, such as inheriting his elderly grandfather's money once he dies. Amidst their intentions, Chao confesses that she is looking for a model that belonged to her father. Additionally, they discover that Chao's grandmother left a will stating that if her father returned to the family with the model once the will came into effect, he would inherit 10% of her shares. These revelations leave Gu Jing deep in thought until Chao snaps him out of it by bringing him a cake for his birthday, a complicated date for him. When he was adopted by the family, he didn't have a birth certificate, so his birthday was set as the date he joined the family. However, this celebration is just a facade because Chao's real intention is to confront Gu Jing and open his safe, hoping to find her father's model and prove that he was involved in his death. However, what she finds in the safe is a model of a house engraved with her name, explaining that each child of Grandpa Changfeng receives one, which makes the girl wonder if she was mistaken, and if Gu Jing really has nothing to do with this. Nevertheless, Chao has no intention of abandoning her plans to infiltrate this family, and her next step is to learn how to manage the company's affairs in order to also infiltrate Grandpa's business. Naturally, Gu Jing is not happy about this, but there is little he can do other than warn her that she has no idea about the mess she is getting herself into. And he is absolutely right, because shortly after starting her job at the company, Chao exposes an ally of Grandpa Changfeng who had embezzled funds while working for a rival company. It turns out that Gu Jing had set everything up so that Chao would find this evidence and expel this partner. This causes a psychopathic man to lunge at Chao, grabbing her by force and threatening to cut her throat with a box cutter, kidnapping her to the horror of everyone present and taking her to an abandoned warehouse. It's because of things like this that people say ignorance is bliss. Fortunately, Gu Jing arrives shortly after to save her, although he suffers a cut on his arm at the hands of the violent man. He manages to subdue him by hitting him on the head with a bottle, and that's it. After this, Chao faints from the shock, later waking up safe and sound in a hospital, where she receives a warm hug from Gu Jing. At that moment, she asks him why he saved her, since if she died, he would be the only heir to her grandfather. In response, he confesses the truth to her. He never hurt her parents. However, he reveals something else. Half a year before her grandfather found her, Chao's father contacted Gu Jing because the girl's mother was sick and needed money for medical treatment. He also explains that he was in Germany when her parents had the accident, and he saw a suspicious man leaving the scene in a hurry. He also reveals that he was at the scene of the car explosion and was the one who took Chao unconscious to the hospital and rescued her when her model was stolen. When our protagonist asks him why he hadn't told her this before, he admits that she was very defensive with him and he was afraid she wouldn't believe him. More importantly, he was worried that the real culprit would attack her, so he wanted to uncover the truth first. After this, Chao visits the Lotus Cemetery to pay tribute to her parents, confessing her deep regret and admitting that she was wrong to believe Jin Yuan was their killer, and that she feels useless for having opposed him despite his secret protection, but now she struggles to express her gratitude. After this, she treats the wound on Jin Yuan's arm that the psychopath caused while they continue talking. Anyway, changing the subject, Chao receives a call from a friend who is helping her investigate her parents' accident. She tells her that the German police found the suspicious vehicle in an abandoned place and that a security camera captured the man's image just in time. At that moment, Chow sees the photograph of the man and notices that he is holding a pack of cigarettes, which matches one she saw at the place where the psychopath kidnapped her a few days ago. That pack isn't just a detail, it's the thread that connects the past and the present. But for now, the girl has to set this clue aside to attend a company charity dinner, accompanied by Gu Jing. Inside the banquet hall, Gu Jing becomes the center of attention for many wealthy young women, especially Yu, who is visibly displeased by Chow's presence, to the point that she even tries to spill a glass of wine on her, though fortunately, she misses. If you go to the doctor or the pharmacy with an ailment, you'll probably come out cured, unless you're suffering from envy. There's no cure for that. Anyway, while this is happening, a young man named Chin Jiu catches Chow's attention at the party, and the two recognize each other from having met at a restaurant a few days ago. However, when Chow finds out that Jiu is the son of one of her grandfather's business partners, she loses all interest, since the last thing she wants is to add more complications to her life. This doesn't stop Gu Jing from feeling jealous, and he wants her to be very careful with her new little friend, emphasizing that Jiu is the son of one of her grandfather's friends and that their relationship could potentially generate harmful speculation in the media. Nevertheless, she asks him for the freedom to continue investigating, revealing what her friend told her and mentioning the clue about the cigarette box, suggesting that the psychopath who kidnapped her might be connected to her parents' death. In this way, they both agree to protect each other while they investigate the situation. The jealousy here does not stem from possessive love but from fear. Fear of losing the only genuine bond she believes she has. Because for someone who was adopted and betrayed, affection is not something to be enjoyed, but something to be defended. However, a new problem arises when Chow is kidnapped again, while Jin Yuan tries to locate her using her phone's GPS. Meanwhile, Chow is tied up by her kidnapper Feng, the same man who was seen in Germany leaving the suspicious car linked to her parents' death. Luckily for Chow, she grabs a piece of glass before being kidnapped, which she uses to cut the ropes that were binding her. At that moment, a flashback shows us that in Germany, Feng was the one who stole Chow's father's model and also set off the explosives that blew up the car her parents were traveling in. Feng finally confesses his guilt, admitting that someone paid him to commit this murder. And although she keeps asking him who it was, he refuses to reveal it, saying that he is about to die. Fortunately, the girl manages to free herself and hits Feng with a brick. Shortly after, Gu Jing arrives to defend Chow, also hitting the criminal, who ends up escaping through a window of the warehouse. After this scare, Gu Jing acts seriously with Chow, reminding her that they promised not to act alone in this investigation and that he won't leave her alone for a moment to protect her, since next time they might not be so lucky. And he really means it, because he even installs a tracker on the girl's phone and tells her that he'll be watching her all the time. A few days after this, Chow reveals to Jin Yuan the project she had been working on, a meticulously crafted model. This brings our lovebirds even closer as they hug in a ball pit that she prepared for him. Then, both attend a father and child day event at the grandfather's company, flirting sweetly in front of everyone. However, the atmosphere quickly sours when several children report stomach aches and start vomiting after eating the cake. After taking them to the hospital, the doctors confirm that it is a case of food poisoning, which was caused by expired nuts found in the cake. Before they could find out who was responsible, the news goes viral online, accusing the company of intentionally making the children sick. Amidst all this, Chiao seeks out Jin Yuan to comfort him, as he is quite upset by everything that has happened. To identify who was responsible for the children's poisoning, we move to a news broadcast where a man is being interviewed. It turns out that the guy was Jin Yuan's first adoptive father. Yes, the very same one who used to abuse him. Why am I not surprised that he ended up abusing other children even if indirectly? Fortunately, Chow has everything needed to expose him as a resentful abuser, presenting evidence not only of the physical abuse he inflicted on Jin Yuan as a child, but also of the cake swap he orchestrated to make the other kids sick. This of course makes the man hysterical, but before he can do anything to Chow, Jin Yuan steps in to defend her as a gesture of gratitude. Meanwhile, Xiu shows up, making it clear that he's still interested in Chow. At the same time, he reassures the girl that he is not like his father, so she doesn't have to worry about getting involved with him. In addition, he offers her the opportunity to perform at a theater he owns so she can play the violin there. She discusses this proposal with Jing Yuan, who encourages her to accept it. However, he warns her that she should be careful, since they don't know how much they can trust Xiu. Meanwhile, he will continue investigating her parents' murder in order to catch the culprit. With all this, Chao realizes that she has fallen hopelessly in love with Jingyuan and that every second they spend together feels like being in paradise. But the peace doesn't last long because soon after, Chen comes to the conclusion that a man named Qin Miang is responsible for her parents' death, especially since he has a hairpin that belonged to her mother. In light of this, Jing Yuan, understanding Qin Miang's cunning and dangerous nature, warns Chao not to act rashly since the man is dangerous. But to make things even more complicated, Grandpa Chang Feng tells Jing Yuan that he has arranged a date for him with a young woman named Lu Wanxing, since she is the daughter of a business partner. Naturally, he objects, but he can't reveal the real reason to his grandfather, which is that he's in love with Chen. This turns into an argument between the lovers who fear that this issue might drive them apart. Meanwhile, Chen feels hurt by the situation. On top of that, she has to endure seeing Lu Wan being affectionate with her beloved Jing Yuan without being able to say a word because in the eyes of others, they are just an uncle and a niece with no blood relation. This ends up driving our couple apart, since Chao can't stand the situation. On top of this, the grandfather tells Chao that he will allow her to return to Germany to continue studying to become a violinist if she wishes. To turn the love triangle into a romantic square, Jiu suddenly appears, who has never stopped showing interest in Chao and likes to show his affection for her in front of Jing Yuan just to make him jealous. This leads to a fight between our protagonists, at least until Jing Yuan decides to break the tension between them by giving Chao a passionate kiss on the lips, after which he tells her that he no longer wants to be just her uncle. Ew, that didn't sound right, but luckily they're not blood-related uncle and niece. After this, the couple takes things a step further and share a bed together. If there's anyone unhappy with this news, it's obviously Lu Wan, who finds out about the relationship and publicly announces that she will not have a relationship with Jing Yuan. Therefore, the alliances between her father and Grandpa Chang Feng are dissolved. However, she avoids mentioning the reason. The only reason she didn't make the relationship between uncle and niece public is because Jing Yuan exposed her as well, discovering that she was in a relationship with another guy and using classic blackmail. After this, the couple decides to confess the truth to Grandpa Chang Feng, and after that, they both conclude that all they need is time for the old man to accept their relationship. And of course, in the meantime, a good dose of kisses doesn't hurt them at all. However, all hell breaks loose soon after when the press finds out about their relationship, relentlessly harassing Chao, even to the point of knocking her to the ground and everything. At that moment, Jing Yuan rushes to her rescue as always. After this, the young man takes her to a beautiful lookout point. There, he takes out a ring and just like that proposes marriage to her. He confesses that at first he saw her as part of his family, but after all the experiences they've shared, he feels a deep affection for her and that his feelings have grown into love, along with a strong desire to protect her from any harm. Moved, she accepts with a big smile. The next day, journalists swarm the company building, eager to get answers. However, Jing Yuan publicly announces their relationship, finally with his grandfather's approval. Then the wedding day arrives and petals rain from the sky as they walk toward the altar, where they kiss passionately in front of everyone present, while the unfortunate Jiu and Lu Wan watch our couple in disappointment. Afterwards, the couple spends their wedding night together in a comfortable bed. But before things can get a bit more heated, Chao falls asleep from the alcohol she drank at the party. However, despite the romance, Lu Wan tries to come between our lovebirds, getting close to Jing Yuan in a flirtatious way in front of Chao to make her jealous, which works quite well. But luckily, our protagonist knows how to fix things and tells his girl that she looks really cute when she's jealous. But since this is a drama and things can't always go smoothly, problems once again threaten this romance. In this case, Jing Yuan meets his mother after many years, and she reveals a tragic truth. Qin Miang is his biological father, meaning he is the murderer of Chao's parents. This leaves the young man devastated, especially upon learning that Ziyu is also behind this revelation, since he was the one who told him the whole truth. He has a clear goal in mind and demands that Jing Yuan divorce Chao if he doesn't want him to reveal to her who her father is, which would surely devastate her as well. This leaves the young man deep in thought, questioning what the right decision is, to stay together and reveal this terrible truth or to separate in order to protect his beloved from this painful reality. To make matters even worse, Jiyu tells this truth to Grandpa Chang Feng, which causes the man to suffer a heart attack on the spot and be rushed to the emergency room. Unfortunately, there isn't much they can do, as the old man passes away before reaching the hospital, leaving Chao devastated. Shortly after, Jing Yuan arrives at the hospital and also learns of this tragic news. Eventually, Grandpa's funeral is held, during which Chao ignores her beloved for not having arrived at the hospital in time. And to add even more drama to the whole situation, Ziyu also shows up at the funeral, threatening Jing Yuan to reveal the truth about his father in front of everyone present, as if he weren't already suffering enough. This triggers a whole scene at the place, a fight that is stopped by Chao, although that doesn't prevent them from fighting again later, all because of Jing Yuan's desperation for the truth to come out. In his desperation, when they return from the funeral, he tells Chao everything. Yes, he is the son of Qin Miang, the murderer of her parents. Faced with such a revelation, she is left petrified and devastated to learn that Jing Yuan had prepared a divorce agreement behind her back as well. However, he tells her that he only did it because of the blackmail from Ziyu. Even so, the couple embraces, determined not to hide anything from each other anymore in the future. Still, Chao lets him know that it will take her some time to get over this, since what hurts her most is the lack of trust he showed by not telling her from the beginning. So she comes up with the big idea of divorcing him, not because he's the son of her parents' murderer, but because she feels she can no longer trust him and suspects he might be hiding other things from her. For his part, Ziyu doesn't hesitate to take advantage of this situation to try to win Chao over, although she rejects his advances again, as she can't forgive him for having blackmailed her so cruelly. As a consequence, this psychopath takes extreme measures, forcibly grabbing Chao in front of Jing Yuan right when the young man's mother is sick and needs to be rushed to the hospital. Supposedly, he does this to show the girl that she is not Jing Yuan's priority, which becomes clear when Jing Yuan decides to take his mother to the hospital. Excuse me, but she's his mother too. But even with his attempts to separate them, it's undeniable that there's still affection between our lovebirds, especially since Jing Yuan calls Chao on the phone to make sure she's safe. In response, Ziyu starts acting like a psychotic boyfriend, calling the girl a traitor, since after Aya all he's supposedly done for her, she dares to cheat on him with Jing Yuan. And what happened to this guy? For her part, Chao makes a new discovery when she finds out that Ziyu has her father's model in his possession. This leads her to conclude that this young man is also Qin Miang's son. Things quickly get out of hand and Ziyu forces Chao onto the bed, telling her how much he loves her and is ready to abuse her until he discovers that she already knows he has the model. But to our girl's relief, before another tragedy can occur, a friend of Chao enters the room and hits Ziyu on the head, knocking him unconscious, which allows them to leave the place shortly after along with Jing Yuan. This event leads the main couple to reconcile once again, as they now know they can trust each other again, and most importantly, that Jing Yuan had nothing to do with the death of her parents or the stolen model. However, once again, Ziyu is up to her tricks, this time faking a hit and run to kidnap Chao. She then calls Jing Yuan shortly after and tells him not to try to find her if he wants her to stay alive. Even so, Jing Yuan uses the tracker on the girl's phone to find her again, just as Ziyu is holding her by force with a knife to her throat. Eventually, the psychopath lets go of Chao and Jing Yuan takes her into his arms. However, during the struggle, he ends up getting stabbed in the chest. He is quickly taken to the hospital, where fortunately he wakes up soon after, having only suffered a minor blood loss. Now, after everything they've been through, our couple is getting ready for their next adventure. It turns out that Jing Yuan bought the Rose Theater, her favorite place, and gave it to Chao so she could devote herself to her passion for the violin and also for theater, while he took on the responsibility of supporting their family. Could he be any more chivalrous? And as expected, once again, he proposes to her, this time determined that nothing and no one will ever separate them again. Don't go! Here begin other stories with some very funny uncles. Click on any of these.